Dear Rasikas, Palam takes great pleasure in welcoming you all to the Anubhav Festival, which is the experiencing the beauty of our performing arts. We have been organizing this festival for the past several years, and this year we bring to you a very special topic, Sri Tyagaraja Vaibhavam, which is again a celebration of the great Vagyekara and his wonderful compositions. This festival slated from 29th January to 2nd February. The name itself, I would say, could be given as Pancharatnam because this is a 5-day festival where we are giving Pancharatnas to you in this whole festival. And we'll be having lecture demonstrations and concerts by eminent scholars and artists. You can watch this in our Palam TV, and in case you have missed it, you can always catch up on it through FB Live or in the YouTube also. Let us now look at the full schedule of the wonderful program that is slated for this 5 days. This year has been very tough, for artists and the artist community because of the COVID pandemic. But from our end, we did not want to stop anything from keeping going, and we wanted to enrich our Rasikas all the time with good music, and that's why we are continuing now with this Sri Tyagaraja Vaibhavam festival. May I appeal to all of you to contribute a minimum of rupees 500 or $10 USD. This is not compulsory, but if you feel that our cause is really worth it, we request you to please contribute so that we can do more for the arts and the artist community. Here are the bank details. Palam presents Anubhav Festival, Sri Tyagaraja Vaibhavam. Namaskarams to all Rasikas. I'm very happy to participate in the Anubhav Festival of Palam. The Anubhav Festival is all about experiencing the beauty of our performing arts. And this year, we have taken up the theme of Sri Tyagaraja Vaibhavam, which is a celebration of the great Vagyekara, Sri Tyagaraja, and his wonderful compositions. The topic I'm going to present my lecture demonstration on is the melodic and rhythmic aspects embedded in the compositions of Sri Tyagaraja. Now, if we look at music itself, we see that melody and rhythm are the two pillars, I would say, on which the entire edifice of music itself stands. And when we add lyrics or sahitya to it, then the melody, the rhythm, and the lyrics together form a composition. In the Indian context, if we want to actually define melody and rhythm, we could say raga and laya as the terms. But quickly, I would like to add the fact that a raga as such is much beyond melody, and laya, I would say, is much beyond rhythm. So we will use the terms raga and laya in today's lecture demonstration, though we have used the terms melody and rhythm for a understanding by a larger section of people. Now, if we look at the raga as such, the arohana, avarohana, I would say, is just like some kind of a pointer towards what that particular scale actually encompasses. But then, as musicians, as students of music, or even as rasikas, we do understand the fact that a raga is not just about the arohana, avarohana, or the scale, but much beyond that in terms of a lot of beautiful phrases, a lot of murchanas which go to encompass that particular scale or the ragam, what we call. And in this sense, I would like to say that parallelly here, when we talk about laya, it is not just about rhythm. It is what we call as it encompasses meter, tempo, accent, the commencing point, and most importantly, the internal arrangement of the music within a particular tala frame. So there are many aspects we could say in terms of the melody and rhythm. And in the context of Sri Tyagaraja's compositions, how do these apply? How has the Vagyekara approached these two aspects will be the subject of study here today. Of course, Sri Tyagaraja is one of the greatest Vagyekaras whose compositions are more, I would say, out of a sense of inspiration. And we all know that he was a bhakta of Lord Rama, and that abundant blessings of Rama is what made him such a great, prolific composer, a great Vagyekara. So in this sense, every composition brims with a lot of devotion, a lot of bhakti. But nevertheless, as a researcher, as a humble student of music, when I look at these compositions in a deeper angle, I feel there is a lot of thought process involved in terms of the music making. It is not just some kind of a random singing in a particular ragam or a particular talam. There is so much of a scientific approach. Apart from the fact that it is a very artistic creation, there is also a lot of scientific approach in each of the compositions that is handled. And we'll just look into some compositions here and there to understand the beauty behind each of it. In the compositions of Tyagaraja, we see that every raga takes a new life. There is so much of freshness. His raga handling, we could say that in three parts I would like to segregate them, in the sense that some of the most important ragas like Shankarabharanam, Kalyani, Kambodi, Todi, all these what we call as the main core ragas of our system, though these ragas did exist before his times, we see that he imparted a special freshness to each of these ragas through his own inimitable approach. Then we can also look at the next class of ragas like the important phrase-oriented ragas in our system like Sahana, Ananda Bhairavi, Yadukula Kambadi, Ritigola. These kind of ragas we do understand cannot be confined within a arohana or avarohana, and they go much beyond in terms of being determined by their typical phrases. So actually in these ragas you would see that even in Tyagaraja's creation we could say that we need not really maneuver the entire scale, just a few phrases will immediately crystallize that particular raga. Then of course Tyagaraja has also created his own ragas. There are about 83 ragas that have been created by him, and these ragas have been given beautiful form and structure through his own compositions. Now, In his compositions, we see also there is a huge variety, and that makes for interesting study in the sense that we have very, very simple compositions like we see in the Divyanama Sankirtanam or the Utsava Sampradaya Kirtanas, to very artistic creations. For example, if you take Chakkani Raja, Eta Unara, or O Rangashayi, where the particular composition just soaks in melody, and you see that the raga is brought out in its intricate form in each of these compositions. As for the melody, we all know that the Pallavi, Anupallavi, Charanam structure was given a very concretized form through Tyagarajar, and this has become some kind of an ideal way of composing, we could say, in the sense that after him, that is, even in his times, Trinity, Tyagarajar, Dikshadhar, Shyama Shastri, all did compose the Pallavi, Anupallavi format and the Charanam format. Later composers also took to this particular format for composing, and that way we could say that it has survived the test of time as one of the best methods of a composition, a form for a composition. And also, of course, we know that in many of his compositions that the Anupallavi's tune gets repeated verbatim in the Charanam. This all of us have heard in many of his Deshaditala compositions like Banturiti Kolo or Ganamurte or Bagayanaya, and many such compositions where you see that the Anupallavi's tune gets repeated in the latter part of the Charanam, and this is what we call as a typically Tyagaraja format of composing a Kriti. In the Indian classical music, we see that the raga is the soul, and each raga has a distinct form and what we could call as a personality of its own. And we see that any good composer or a musician makes the full personality of the ragam stand in front of us. That way, I would also say that a ragam is more like a living entity, a human being, I would say, in the sense that, in fact, some of them have defined the ragam as a devata also. And by this, what we mean is that each of these ragas have got some kind of a life in them. It is not just a scale, but it is something which bubbles with a lot of energy. It has got a lot of life in it. So that way we see that in the compositions of Tyagaraja, every raga comes out with full life, with full of freshness, and that is something very, very unique about his compositions. And in his compositions itself, we see that he makes a mention of the seven swaras, the beauty of the swaras, and that every person who pursues music has to worship these swaras. For example, he says, Shobillo septeswara, Shobillo septeswara, Sundarula Bhajupave Manasa, Shobillo septeswara, Sundarula Bhajupave Manasa, Shobillo Saptaswara. Or in another composition, Sripapriya Sangitopasana Cheve O Manasa, where he says that to the mind to worship the music which is dear to Sripati. And here also he looks at the raga and the music itself as some kind of a living entity, in the sense that he says that every melodious raga is incarnated as a graceful form and with tinkling anklets carries on its enchanting dance. See how beautifully he has even thought about a ragam, and I suppose this kind of a conceptualization of the ragam as something very, very life-filled is what makes his compositions also great in many ways. We come to understand that Tyagaraja composed thousands of compositions, but the reality is that we have only about 675 compositions available to us. And in this considerable section is what we call as the Divya Nama Sankirtanam, where there are about 78 in numbers. Then we have the Utsava Sampradaya Kirtanas, the Pancharatnas, and then of course Tyagaraja also has the credit of composing 3 very, very beautiful operas, the Sita Rama Vijayam, Prahalada Bhakti Vijayam, and then Nauka Charitram. And these are a class by in themselves, in the sense that apart from the fact that Tyagaraja was a great master in composing kritis, it also shows how he is able to visualize so many things and dramatize so many things. And these 3 operas are a beautiful testimony to his imaginative skills. Why Tyagaraja? What is so special about his compositions? Because again the question comes as to, there are so many composers over so many thousands of periods of time. We have so many composers. Why do we hail again Tyagaraja as one of the greatest Vagyakaras? Though his compositions are actually simple in structure, we see that he has got his own beautiful way, I would say, of presenting the ragam. As I said earlier also, whether it's a Rakti Ragam or a new Ragam created by him, the way the Ragam proceeds through the composition is something very, very unique, I would say, about him. And the Ragam unfolds like you would see in the compositions in Ragams like Shankarabharanam or Kalyani. Here you see that though we do know that there are already so many phrases in that composition which have been used by earlier composers, he tries to give a different dimension to these ragas. He tries to unfold them in his own style, I would say. For example, if you look at a Rakti Ragam like Shankarabharanam, here you see that there's a gradual progression. Again, Shankarabharanam, we know that can be established by just a few phrases and does not require a whole scale to establish it itself. Let us look at one composition. Yenduku bedala vale bodhi yavu yenduku bedala vale bodhi yavu yendu podu nei. So where you saw that which is of course the key or the heart of the ragam, and he has established it. If you take another composition, Eta Unara, you see again, Eta Unara Nilakadani Ko Eta Unara, where you have not gone to the Uttaranga portion at all. In the Purvanga itself, he establishes that it is Kalyani. And then slowly you see that the raga progresses from the Mandrasthai, slowly Madhyasthai, and then it moves to the Tarasthai. So there is a process of unfolding that you see here. Here also I would like to make a point about how a raga like Kambodhi, for example, he tries to give more focus on the melody than the words. And a classic example we could say is O Rangashahi, where just O Rangashahi Pila Chite, that is the whole Avartanam is having only these 2 words. But how the Kambodhi gets unfolded is very, very important here. Let us see one line for example. rangashaye pili chitte rangashaye. So with minimal words, how he is able to bring out the structure of Kambodi is something very, very interesting to study here. Like this, we can have many compositions as examples here. Another very, very important thing that makes his compositions very appealing is the balance he tries to maintain between what we call as the straight notes as well as the gamakas. Why am I saying this is because if a particular composition, for example, is overladen with a lot of gamakas and a lot of technicalities, then we see that it becomes really very tiring in terms of even listening. So that perfectly trying to balance what we call as the straight notes, the plain notes, with the gamakas and giving both its due share gives you some kind of special focus to the composition itself. We look into one or two compositions to see how he has handled this aspect. Ramani samaname varu, 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 Ramani samaname varu. Where you know that Karara Priya, if you take Sare ga ma padani sa sa ni da pa ma ga re sa. But you see how the notes Ramani samana me varu. So the standing on the sa itself, that plain sa, gives a kind of a contrast between Ramani samana me varu. Then the next straight note Ramani samana me varu. So this is something very, very unique for any great Vagekara. We can also see this in the compositions of Tyagarajar, apart from Tyagarajar in Dikshidhar and Shyama Sastri. But this is something very noteworthy. Another example we could see. Nammiva Chinanan no Nayamo Ga Brava Nammiva Chinanan no Nayamo Ga Brava Venam. So the standing on the sa, the pa, these kind of straight notes as well as the basic phrases of Kalyani together give us a beautiful picture of the raga. We also then we see that in ragams like the ones where he has created, this is a contrast to what I was saying in terms of Shankarabharanam of Kalyani. In the ragams where he has been the creator, we do understand that it was he who has brought it to the fore for the first time. And so probably he was also aware of that fact. And so in most of the compositions where the ragam has been created by Tyagarajar as well as the composition, we see that the entire gamut of that particular ragam is clearly established in the first phrase itself. So there is absolutely no ambiguity in terms of the melody here. And when the composition starts, you immediately get to know what are the notes encompassed by that ragam. You get to know whether it is a Upanga ragam or a Vakra ragam or whatever it is, and whether what is the kind of note, variety of note which is taken in the Arohanam, Avarohanam and so on. For example, if you look at a composition like Bhagayanaya in Chandra Jyoti. Chandra Jyoti, we all know, is Sari ga ma pada sa sa da pa ma ga ri sa. So this is his creation, where in the first phrase Bagayanayane Mayalento Bagayanayane Mayalento Brahma Kaina Koni Yada Tarama Bagayanaya. So in the first phrase, Pamagari Sada Sarigama. So you immediately get to know that the scale is Sarigama Padasa Sada Pamagari Sa. Another example we could take is of Jayantashri, where technically, if we see, it is nothing but Hindolam with a Panchama, like Sagamadani sa Sanidama Magasa Sagamadani Sanidama Magasa. So now, if he were to make the composition progress in the Arohana, you will only get a picture of Hindolam. So to show that Jayantashri is something different from the Hindolam and what its key phrases, see how intelligently the composition has been started off like Marugelara Raghava Marugelara O Raghava Marugelara O Raghava Marugelara. So the phrase Damapa Magasa Damapa. So that is the key phrase of Jayantashri. And interestingly, if you look at the Anupallavi, this prayoga of Damapa is not at all there because it proceeds towards the upper sthai, like Marugela Chara Chara Rupa Parat Para Surya Sudha Karalochana Marugelara. But it doesn't matter because of the fact that in the Pallavi he has established that phrase over and over and again through 3-4 Sangatis. So after that, for you it is only Jayantashri in the mind. And then again in the Charanam, of course, he again brings back that phrase Anini Vanu Chugantaranga Buna. So the Pa again gets highlighted there. Another example we can take here is for example, Nenarunchara Napaini Chala. That is in the Simhavahini Ragam. Now, Simhavahini is a janya of Sarasangi, and actually there is a very minor difference only in this particular Ragam in the sense that Sagama Pada Nisa Sanina pa magarisa Sagama pada ni sanida pa magarisa. So here it is the other way around in the sense that if you keep on singing the Avarohanam, it will only indicate Sarasangi. So see how in the opening phrase itself he has defined the Ragam as Nenarunchara Na paini chala nenarunchara Na paini sagama. In the Na paini you get to know that sagama prayoga, which means that the rishabha is not there. So now let us look at it again. Nenarunchara na paini chalani dasudanu gada shiraba nenarunchara sa ni da pa ma ga re sa, fine, but na pi ni sa ga ma. Another example we could take again is of Janaki Ramana in Suddha Simantini, where a very powerful ragam is there before it, Thodi. So this is not Thodi, but something which is a janya of Thodi, and it's got its own character, is what Tyagaraja wants to convey to us here. Janaki Ramana, Shri Janaki Ramana, Bhakta Parijata Pahi Sakala Loka Charana Janaki Ramana. So, Garisa, he immediately goes to Padasa. So immediately you understand that Sarega ma Padasa Sada Pamagarisa. Here again I would like to point out his methodology of giving us that picture of the ragam. There are two ways I would say. One is taking the Purvanga portion, that is the Sarigama portion, and attaching it to the Mandrasthai, the Uttaranga of the Mandrasthai, and giving you one complete picture. Or else it can also be that he takes up the Uttaranga first and then moves to the Purvanga. So that is trying to put two parts together to give you the complete picture. For example, for this we could take two examples of compositions in the same ragam, Chandrajyoti. If you look at Bhagayanaya here, how has he given us that picture of the ragam is Bhagayanaya ni maya lento garisa pamagarisa da sariga. One method. Another method you see is taking up the Uttaranga first, like Shashivadana Bhakta Janavana, Shashivadana Bhakta Janavana, Dasana Pama Pamabada Pamagarisa. So this is one ragam where there is a symmetry, I would say, in terms of the Arohana Arohana, where you see that the notes taken in the Arohana get, when you come back also, it's the same. But there are also ragas where you see that there is an asymmetry in the sense that some notes which are there in the Arohana may not be there in the Avarohana. Some notes which are there in the Avarohana may not be in the Arohana. So there are different permutation combination that he has devised in this set of new ragas that created. And one example again, which is very popularly known to us, comes to my mind is Bahudari. Sagama padani sa sani pamaga sa, Sagama padani sani pamaga sa. So here, this particular scale necessitates that he gives a complete tour of the Arohanam and the Avarohanam for us to understand the ragam. That is how the melody is divided. So, Brova Bharama Raghurama, Brova Bharama Raghurama Bhuvanamellani, where Brova Bhara Padani Pamaga Gamaga Sagama Padani. When you put together the two, you will understand that it is Bahudari, where Sagama Padani Sanipa. So the Daivata is not there in the Avarohana. Another example I would like to share is how to show you how he links the entire circle of the Arohana. For example, if you take Manasayatulo. Manasayatulo Tune Manasayatulo. Does it sound well? Gapadani Sanidapa. But then, quickly how he encompasses the Rishabha to give that complete round off is what is very, very interesting to study here. Manasayatulo Tune. That portion is very, very important. That is Gapada ni sa ni da pa gaba gari sa. He doesn't not stop on sa. That indicates the fact that gaba gari sa re ga. So he gives us the link that sa re ga pa da ni sa sa ni da pa gari sa sa re da ni sa ni da pa gari sa. Though he start on sari, manasa yatulun tune gaba gari sa re ga pa. So the complete gamut of the ragam as Sarega Padani Sanida Bagaris is clearly given to us by Tyagaraja. Tyagaraja as a composer definitely was very traditional. We know that he made a very deep study of music and he was blessed to receive the great Swararnava, from where he got to know many of the secrets of music, the nuances of music. But then, Tyagaraja as a innovator is also very, very important for us to understand. And that is where again I would say he strikes a perfect balance between being a traditionalist as well as an innovator. In this context, I would like to share an observation that I made. Let us take the example of Panturali. In Panturali, all his compositions, I would say most of it rather, start on the Tara Shadja. And the Shadja becomes the commencing point in the sense that, if you look at the compositions, Shambha Magha Deva Shambha Mahadeva Shankaragiri Jaramana. Or if you take Ninne Neranam Minanora, or Sundara Taradeham Vadeham Ramam Sundara, or Narada Muni Vedalina, or Raghuvaran Noma, or Shiva 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 Yanarada, where in all these compositions you would see that the Taras Shadja becomes also the pivotal point around which the whole composition has been evolved. Now, as an offbeat to it, I don't know what made Tyagaraja do this, but what I observed in the composition Shobhane, you see that he has abstained from using the Shadja itself, in the sense that the composition hovers only till about the Panchama or the Daivata and it moves to the lower octave. So how does it sound? Shobhane, Shobhane, Vadana Dyuti Jita Soma, Vasudha Manasa Kama, Madamanava Garnabhima, Ma Pahi Shri Ramashu Bane, Shobhane. So where you see the melody is Vadana Dyuti Jita Soma, Pa Pada Pa Magari Sa Nida Ni Sa, Pa Magari Sa Nida Pada Ni Sa Ri Sa. So the whole composition here does not touch the Shadja at all, yet you are able to see that the beautiful flavor of Panturali remains intact. And of course, it might have sounded a bit strange the way I rendered the composition, because of the fact that since the whole composition's canvas of the composition is within the pa, we generally rendered it in the Madhyama Shruti like वदन द्युति जित सोम वसुद मानस काम मद मानव गण भीमा मा पाहि श्री राम बने I find this a very great level of brilliance, I would say, in the sense that what we sing in the Madhyama Shruti are ragas which themselves have a limited range, like Nadanama Kriya or Punnagavarali, where the range itself of the ragam is only that much till the pa and it does not extend to the sa. Whereas in a Panturali, where the ragam has got its lakshana such that it can encompass the madhyasthai, mandrasthai, tarasthai, yet he has used one aspect of the ragam to give us a different dimension here. Or if you look at another ragam, I would say, like Madhyamavati, where if you look at a composition like Ramakatha Sudha, the Madhyamavati here traverses from Mandrasthai, Madhyasthai, Tarasthai. And that is the nature of that particular ragam, like Ramakatha Sudha Rasapana. The Anupali, you see that it goes to the higher range. Bhama Mani Janaki Saumi Etri Bhama Mani Janaki Saumi So, till the Madhyama it goes, whereas in a very small composition you see, like Nagumomu in Madhyamavati, that he has composed in the same ragam, within a limited range of notes, how he established the ragam. That is without touching the Shadja or going to the Tarasthai itself. I'll render that again in the Madhyama Shruti for us to understand it better. Nagumomu galavani namano haruni jagamelu shuruni janaki varuni devadi devuni divya sundaruni Shivasu devuni Sita Ragavuni. So you see that within a limited range of notes, how cleverly he establishes that ragam. This is again something I would say very uniquely approached, probably only by Tyagarajar. These are just two examples. Probably if you look into and do a deeper study, we may come out with many more such examples. I was also making a mention about the ragas where they are defined more by the phrases. For example, if you take Sahana, where Ri 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 Ga Ma Pa Ba Ga Ma Ri, suppose that is the heart of the ragam. See in the even a simplest composition, Vandanamo Raghunandana Setubandana Bhakta Chandana Rama. or a much more simpler composition, Sri Rama, Sri Rama, Shri Manoharama, Shri Rama, Shri Rama, Shri Manoharama. Or if you take Riti Gaula, Paripalaya, Paripalaya, Paripalaya Raghunatha, Paripalaya, Paripalaya, Paripalaya Raghunatha. In the same ragam, he has composed Nanu Vidachi. Or if you take Bale Balendu, Bale Balendu Bhushani Bale Balendu Bhushani Bavaroga Shagamani Bale Balalochani Shriyamba Balalochani Shri Amba Balalochani Shri Dharmasam Vardani Sakala Loka Janani, where these are two contrasts. In the Bale Balendu, it is the unfolding of the ragam, I would say, through the sections of the Pallavi, Anupallavi and Charanam. And you see that every note is taken and then it could probably compare it to a flower blossoming. Whereas in that Paripalaya sang, there are only about 4 lines of phrases in that, but the 4 lines and the phrases were able to completely define the ragam. So you cannot say that just because it was a 2-line composition, there was lesser Riti Gaula in that. And that is what I think again makes Tyagarajar a very great composer. Now let us also look at some of the rhythmic or the laya aspects. In the domain of laya again, Tyagarajar was a real master, I would say, where he has used so many varieties in terms of exploring the laya aspects. That is how the song commences, that is the Edupu of the song. The different Kala Pramanas he has adopted, that is the Chauka Kalam, Madhyama Kalam, Dhurita Kalam. Then also, most importantly, even within the same talam, how internally the song has been constructed makes for interesting study, in the sense that even if there are so many compositions in Adi Tala, how the lyrics and the melody have been fitted into that particular Tala frame in each of these compositions so differently makes for a very, very interesting study. First we will look at Adi Talam. Adi Talam, of course, is the most common talam and I would say most universal also, and so most of the compositions of Tyagarajar are in Adi Talam only. But then in Adi Talam also, we see the variety that is explored in the sense of Edupu, as I said, the Samakala Edupu, the Ara Edupu, Mukkal Edupu, Ondra Edupu, and sometimes you also see that there is an Anagata Edupu also that he has adopted. In the Samakala, let us look at a simple example. Adamodi galadera maya matalladamodi galadera maya mata. Suppose you take the Ara Edupu, the composition which we did earlier again. Janaki Ramana Shri Janaki Ramana. So the Ara Edupu means after 2, taka janaki ramana. A mukkal eduppu kirtana that he has done. Takita sundara tara deham vandeham rabam sundara tara deham. And of course, the one and only Enduro Mahanubhavulu, which starts on the little finger. As I always say, never before, never after composition. The only composition which starts on this particular Eduppu of Endaro Maghano Bhavulu Endaro Maghano Bhavulu Andariki Balda Namulo Endaro. Again, one important point is that how in this particular composition especially, it starts on the little finger, and how the whole composition has been constructed such that it leads beautifully to that. And here again, importantly in the Eduppu, what is important is that each of the charanams, the swaram and the sahityam, they start on the samam, but then they end such that the Endaro Mahanubhavulu can be caught on at this little finger. That is again a genius of the composer, where the composition, the swaram and the sahityam portion are not just in the sama Eduppu, but you see that it starts on the samam, but it ends such that it goes and gets linked to the Endaro Mahanubhavulu, the little finger. Probably this will be discussed later also when we are going to have a separate session on Pancharatnam, so we will not go into detail into that here now. Another important, very important contribution is the Deshadi Talam that he incorporated, what we colloquially call as the Onrada Kirtana, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, starting after 6 aksharams. And probably the history, when we look at it, we see that he was much influenced by the Maratha. He was there at the time when the Marathas were ruling our that particular zone where he lived in Tanjore, and listening to the Sankirtanakaras probably was also one of the great influence for him to compose in this Deshadi Talas that we are talking about. And there are so many such compositions you can see, like Brova Bharama Raghurama Teliyale Rurama Bhakti Margamuno Yenta Nechina Yenta Jochina Ganamurte Shri Krishna Venu Marugelara Vora Raghava Makelara Vicharamu Tana Mitane Chapukavale. You could just keep going on and on. But what I wanted to focus here more than the Eduppu portion is how the internal construction of that composition has been done by Tyagaraja, in the sense that Tanamidane Chepukovale. How does he strike a balance between the Purvangam and the Uttarangam, that is between the Lagu portion and the Dhrutam portion, is what makes it very, very important in terms of the study. Like Tanamidane. So in most of this composition, you'll see that the accent is on the Dhrutam, but after the Dhrutam there is always a pause. And similarly you see that the second accent happens on the Samam. Let's look at this example again. Another example, for example, Yenta Nechina Yenta Juchina Yenta Nechina. After the first na you see there is a pause. Then after that Yenta Juchina. This kind of a symmetry that he has maintained in this Deshadi Talam is really a very interesting study in terms of the conceptualization of the composition. In the Madhyadi Talas, I observed that there is a different way of conceiving the whole composition, the internal structure, where the accent is not on the arudhi but before the arudhi. That comes in many of the compositions. For example, you see Rama Kathaya Sudha Rasapa Anamoka. Or if you take Eta Unara, Eta Unara Nilakadani Ko. This is very interesting to study, where it is not like, suppose you're doing a arudhi for a pallavi, it would be like probably Eta Vu Nagara. The Ra will fall on the Dhrutam. But that idea of not accenting the Dhrutam has been followed in many of the Madhyadi Tala songs that he has composed, like another Yenduku Bedala. There's a silence there. Vale Bodhi Yavu. In many of the compositions that I examined, I could see that in the Madhyadi Talas, either you see that there is a pause. The silence, of course, is not empty silence that we have to understand. It is a silence which is so pregnant with meaning, so pregnant with raga bhava. That is the silence in the sense that there is a pause there, or sometimes we see that it is an extension of the vowel. But never you will see that the accent falls on the Dhrutam. So this is something very typically you could see in many of the Madhyadi Tala. Then of course, he did not leave out another Edipu I was talking about. Chade Buddhi Banura. Chade. That is the composition starting before the Talam. You see that what we call as the Anagata Edipu. This is again gives us a very beautiful understanding now about the fact that Tyagarajar, even when he composed in Adi Talam, he used different kinds of Edipus. He has used different Kala Pramanas also. For the Kala Pramana, if you take, for example, Durita Kala Pramana, relatively, if you take Telisi Rama Chiltanato Namamu Telisi Rama Chiltanato Namamu, a relatively lesser speed song in this, what we call as a Madhyama Kala. Adamodi Galadera Maya Matal Adamodi Galade. Then of course the Chauka Kalam. If you want to take all the Rendigala Kirtanas, give us beautiful examples for the Chauka Kalam or the slow tempo. The next Talam that he has explored, basically we have to understand that his compositions revolve mainly on the four Talams: Adi Talam, Rupaka Talam, Mishra Chapu and Khanda Chapu. And as for the percentage, again it comes in the same order of maximum in Adi Talam, then Rupakam, Mishra Chapu and then Khanda Chapu. Of course, he has also composed in rare talas like Jampa, but that is very, very minimal. Now, if you come to Rupaka Talam, we see that in his compositions, there is Avartana, how he has handled is Shambhabagha Deva Shankaragiri Jaramana Shambhabagha Deva Shankaragiri Jaramana. So that concept of having 4 avartas for the Pallavi, 4 avartas at least for the Anupallavi and 8 for the Charanam is something very significantly we are able to see in his compositions in Rupaka Talam. In the same thing you see that, for example, Nammiva Chinanan no nayamoga brova venam iva or manasayatulo tunena manaviniche konave o manasayatu. You saw that there are 4 avartas. Now if you look back and see the Anupallavi and Charanam, you will be able to understand what I was talking about. Again, another 4 avartas and then 8 avartas for the Charanam. We'll now look into the Mishra Chapu. Again, in Mishra Chapu, we know that it consists of 7 aksharas in like takketa, takkadimi, takketa, takkadimi, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here, most of his compositions flow along with this particular rhythm, and that is what lends it a great beauty, I would say. And here again, he has started after 4 aksharas, many compositions. But even then, when it starts after 4 aksharas or whether it starts on the samam, whatever it is, you see that the flow of the particular rhythm is takkita, takkadimi, takkita, takkadimi is maintained very well by him. Let us look at one example. Yennalu rage yundu vajuta mu yennalu rage yundu vajuta mu. This composition started after 4. Takadimi yennadu. But the accent again is on the takkita, takkadimi. That is on the 4 and then on the 6. Takadimi yennadu rage yundu vajuta mu yennadu rage. Here what you should have observed is that when it started on the, that is after 4 aksharas also, we had the same accent. When he started this next avartana on the samam, then also we see that the same accent has been maintained, and that is something very, very unique in the sense. Observe again. Yennalu rage. So first one we started after 4, then the same accent came. This same symmetry is maintained throughout the composition. Another example we could take. Nikedaya raka nejeyupanu lilla nirave erunaga ora ma. In most of the compositions, again, you see that the odd even structure, that is the first avartana will always start after 4 edam. The second avartana falls on the samam. The third will again come on the 4 after 4. Fourth one on the samam. Like this, the whole composition, you will see that this kind of a symmetry has been maintained by him. Then if you come to the Khandachapu Talam, a popular composition, of course, you would have seen. Guru leka yatu vanti gunike teliyaka podu. Guru leka yatu vanti gunike teliyaka podu. Guru leka yatu vanti. You know that Khandachapus takka takkita takka takkita. So the accent is on the first and then third. Guru leka yetu vanti guniki teliyaka podu. Entire composition goes like this. So in many of the Khandachapu again you see this. So what I wanted to really emphasize here is that how the melody actually flows along with the rhythm, flows along with the layam. That is very, very important. Now if the rhythm and the layam do not seamlessly blend with one another, we cannot have a good composition. And in this sense, in the compositions of Tyagarajar, the foremost important thing that we see is that the raga aspect, the laya aspect, both of them seamlessly blend with one another. Of course, the next element is the sahityam. We are not discussing about that because that is not in the purview of our discussion today here. But what is very, very important for any great Vagyakara is whether the composition is in a Durata Kalam or a Madhyama Kalam or a Vilamba Kalam, whether it is different Oedipus, whether different Kala Pramanas, whatever be the ragam, whether it's a new ragam, whether it's an established ragam, whether it's a phrase-oriented ragam, a Bhashanga ragam, whatever be the raga aspect, whatever be the tala aspect, the two aspects should blend together as a fine whole to give us a composition. And that's where I think Sri Tyagarajar stood very tall as a great Vagyakara, where he was a great traditionalist in terms of keeping intact whatever he had actually imbibed, but at the same time, he was also a great innovator in terms of trying to use this as a seed and develop more on it and to create new paths for exploration. And in the concert context, I would just like to make an addition here that Tyagaraja's compositions have paved the way for our concert music in the sense that because of his giving us such a variety in terms of the ragam, in terms of the melody, that is, in terms of the laya aspect, the rhythmic aspect, we see that a whole concert consisting only of Tyagaraja composition could give us such a variety fare because of the fact that he's incorporated so much of variety while conceptualizing a raga or in terms of the thala also. And as I always say, this is a vast subject, a very big ocean, and every composition gives us a lot of insight about his thought process, about how he thought about music, what his conceptualization has been in terms of the larger canvas of music and the melody and the rhythm. But here probably we just touched upon a few points. But then, as I said in my beginning of the lecture demonstration, this is a celebration of the great Vagyakara, a celebration of his great compositions, and trying to understand even a little bit about the greatness helps us to celebrate these great composers much better. Namaskarams to all of you.